My name is Christin Melton, and my life runs off the power of prayer. I was born on November 10th, 1993. My grandfather was a Southern Baptist preacher, and my father grew up Southern Baptist. My mother grew up Pentecostal. I grew up Southern Baptist. I was always brought up to believe that there's power in prayer. That prayer is so powerful that anything that you want, you pray for it, and God will give it to you. That's what I believed as a child. So I prayed for everything. And to this day, I can't remember a single time as a child that I prayed and my prayer wasn't answered. And so, for example, my mother and father decided when I was 10 years old that they wanted to have another child. So they asked God for a baby. Well, a couple of weeks later, my mama found out that she was pregnant. Then a couple of months later, she found out that she had miscarried, and we were all devastated. And still throughout that, my mom and daddy kept their faith, and they said, it was not God's timing. We will continue to pray, and he'll give us a child when he's ready. So they prayed, and on April 17th, 2008, the curliest, brown-headed little girl was born, my little sister Gracie. And so she just changed our lives. It was a great time. Our life was great before, but it was even better with her in it. We were financially stable. I feel like everything that we had, we owed to our prayer, because we had prayed for these things, and God had heard our prayers, and he had given them to us, and we owed it all to God. And I could tell you stories all day long about the times that God's answered my prayers, but instead I'm going to tell you about a time that I doubted the power of prayer. So in 2009, it was July, my father and I were taking my baby sister to the babysitter when we got a phone call from our neighbor telling us to rush home, that they had already called the fire department, but our house was aflame. We rushed home, and we got out of the car, and we looked at the house, and everything in front of us was just dust. And I was scared, so I did the first thing that I always do when I'm scared. I started to pray, and I said, God, please help us to be able to salvage something. Please cease this fire. And I waited, and the fire got bigger, and the house just grew smaller, and it crumbled more and more. And I looked up at my daddy for some reassurance, because he's the one that always told me, to look to God when times get rough, to pray about it when you're struggling with something. And he looked up at the sky and he said, God, why? At this moment, he was questioning God, the thing that he had always told me not to do, that prayer would handle everything. At this crisis in our life, he questions God, and I'm thinking, wow, so maybe all this time, all of the prayers that were answered for me were a coincidence. Maybe it wasn't God. But then it dawns on me that in the Christian belief, all children go to heaven, but there comes a point in time in your life when you're not a child anymore, and God tests your faith. As an adult, you don't just go to heaven. You have to make a choice, and you have to make the decision whether to believe in God or not to. And at that moment in my life, I told myself that God had never not answered a prayer for me before. And the one time that he isn't going to be the time that I give up on him. And sometimes we think that we know what we want. Sometimes we think that the things that we desire are the things that we should pray for, but God has a will for our lives. And if anything that we pray for interferes with God's will, then he won't give it to us. And it was at that moment that I realized some of my prayers from that point on wouldn't be answered anymore. It was the power of prayer that my baby sister was born. It was the power of prayer that I found strength in God the day that I couldn't find strength in my daddy or in myself. And it's the power of prayer that I live by every day. It was that one moment that made me who I am. I'm 22 years old now. I have a brand new house. I have plenty of friends and great family and a successful career ahead of me in dental hygiene. And I owe it all to God, because the power of prayer is what gave me the strength to make the change in my life. And the day that I thought that I had lost everything, that I thought that my life was over, was the day that my life began. So my name is Christin Melton, and I'm still praying.